What's going on, everyone? Eric here. Hope you're all doing good today. In this video, we're going to be looking at this little travel grinder, the Geimori Wirsh T38 Plus. Now, this is a cool little travel grinder that they sent me. They sent me and they said, hey, could you review this for me? And I said, sure, but I get to make the review. I can give you my critiques, positives, negatives, whatever, and that's it. Are you okay with that? And they said, yes. So thank you for sending this. And yeah, since they sent it to me for free and I'm done testing this, I will give it away to one of you guys, actually. I'll tell you how to do that a little bit later on in the video, but just know that I got enough coffee gear around here. It's time to start giving it back to my subscribers. I have been testing this grinder for espresso for about a month now, kind of just using it as my good default espresso grinder whenever I'm making espresso, because I wanted to run this thing through its paces and see how it works. Now, the first thing we can really say about this is that it is very compact. It is meant to be a travel grinder, and it kind of bucks the trend of most modern single dose grinders where it is not on an angle, it is straight up, and that is basically because they need to make it as compact as possible for it to do its job, which is to fit in your luggage. Now, how big is it? All right, so if you take the bellows off and you measure it from the base, we are looking at 9 inches tall. We're looking at the base here, it's about 4 inches long, and it is about 2.5 inches wide. So very compact. If you add the bellows on, we're going to add another up to 11 inches up there. So it is tiny, it is very small, it is very light. It weighs 1.2 kilograms, that's about 2.5 pounds. So it is light. And you might say, why is this thing so small? Well, that is because all of your electrical conversion is happening in this giant dookie plug that it comes with. It is a very big plug, and here's one thing that I noticed that I thought was pretty cool is that you can actually take off this. You could get different size adapters, if you can find them, for different places. So right now, this one right here is a US style plug, but this guy right here, it will do anything from 100 to 240 volts, and therefore, if you can find the adapters for these, which I think we should suggest to Wirsh that they should sell or give you if you buy a travel kit, because they do sell a little travel bag for this guy. I think that would be a cool thing. Maybe get some European plugs on here. Anyway, that is the plug. It is very big and dookie. You're gonna be adding on, this guy right here is a 4-inch by 2-inch plug. So that is why it's able to be so small. It's because this plug adapter is so big. The burrs on the inside of this, we have some 38 millimeter burrs with 6 axis. So the idea of all those axis points is to guide the beans down into the grinder and to actually get uniform grinding, right? Maybe I should have cleaned this off before I made a review, but I didn't. All right, so the outer burrs right here come out very easily, as you just saw. I just had to unscrew it, and so that will make it very easy to clean your grinder. The inner burrs you could remove if you were to use a proper size nut driver to remove this little nut on the top here. All in all, I would say that I like the look of these burrs. These are pretty well broken now after a month of daily use, but they still are very sharp. They have a good geometry to them, and they do work really well for espresso and for pour overs. Oh my gosh, look at all this grind that's in here. There's a lot of grinds that were in here, guys. Reinstalling this, you just screw it back on counterclockwise until it stops, and actually going all the way to where it stops helps it stay calibrated, and then you can back it off to the actual settings where you want it to be. All right, so there you go. You get your 38 millimeter 6-axis conical burrs in there that are 420 rating stainless steel, 420 stainless steel, and we're talking about the actual motor. How fast does it rotate? 190 RPMs. Small grinder, relatively small burrs, relatively slow rotation, but it does a fine job for espresso as far as the quality of the shot you're gonna get. I've done a little bit of light roast, a little bit of medium roast, a little bit of medium dark, and I've been able to find a good setting for each and every one of those, and that is because this is stepless. This guy right here, it does have indicators showing you where you might, it's good to have indicators so you know what setting you're on, but it is stepless. You can go as big or as little of a move as you want to. And the espresso range would probably be, for me, I'm finding that for medium darks, we're around the 15. Now, I don't know if every grinder is calibrated the same as mine, but anyway, your range is going to be between 10 and 20. And of course, because it is stepless, you can go as little or as far as you want. Really no trouble finding a suitable setting for any of the coffees that I've tested on this in the past month. The performance as a pour over, perfectly adequate. You're going to go all the way out to around 40 or so for your pour overs. You're going to get a decent pour over, maybe not as much clarity as some higher end grinders, but I think for the price and for the size, you're going to get a decent cup with not too many fines, and it's not going to give you it's not going to be too muddy and kind of clog up your filter. So that is good to have. In the box, you get the actual grinder, you get the bellows, you get the magnetic catch cup, and you get a power adapter. And one thing I like is the actual little cardboard box that it comes in. You could use this. You could throw this in your car if you're going to a hotel or anywhere like that and have this be your little storage box without buying a case. And I think if you're going to get a little bit of time out of this before the actual cardboard starts to get soggy, but then you still have this nice styrofoam sleeve, so you don't necessarily need to purchase a special case for this. You can just use this styrofoam. All right, so that's what you get. It's pretty bare bones, and it's just works, and it does a decent job, and I have really no major complaints about this grinder as far as the performance of the burrs. Right now I'm going to tell you, before I get into the negatives here, how I can get this grinder right here, this one that I've tested and has the burrs pretty well seasoned by now, out to you. So you're going to just have to subscribe to me on YouTube, and then you're going to have to subscribe to me at one other place, either via Instagram or TikTok, and I will post a picture of this grinder, and I want you to leave me your best grinder pun on there. Grinder pun or grinder joke, something coffee related and with grinders in it, and I will pick the one that I like the best. And that is how I will decide who gets it. Now, the reason I want you to subscribe to me on Instagram or TikTok is because if you subscribe to me there, I can direct message you, and therefore I can send a message to the person who wins it and find out where to send it. All right, there you go. So we have an all metal body made out of an aluminum alloy here. The lid and the base have a kind of, well, this lid right here is definitely wood. The base right here is some kind of wood accent, but it's not real wood. This is definitely some kind of plastic or something like that. Uh-oh, your catch cup is magnetic, like I mentioned. All in all, that's all you need to know about the construction and everything about this guy right here. All right, so let's talk about the negatives or the little sticking points that I've found with this guy. So I have heard that this guy has a anti-static system built into it, and I don't know if it just has anti-static coating on the inside or if it actually has an anti-static plasma generator. I don't know how it could, it's so small, but be that as it may, though it does advertise itself as a static-free, less messy grinder, I would say that that is only true if you do the RDT water droplet technique or spray. RDT technique means that it's called the Ross droplet technique. You are either going to add a drop of water to your beans with a wet finger and stir it around, or use a little spray and spray it on there. Either way works fine. I have been measuring out my beans in this lid right here, and then putting some water on my finger, stirring it around, giving it a little shake, and then putting it out to grind. Now, as long as you do that, the static is not too bad. In fact, it's no better or worse than any other grinder. All grinders have a bit of static. If you do not do that, it is kind of a mess and has relatively bad retention. Now, almost every grinder that is in this price range does tend to have about up to 1/2 gram of retention. Now, this guy right here, definitely, if you don't do the RDT technique, I have measured it several times, you are going to have about 1/2 gram of retention if you don't do the RDT technique. If you do the RDT technique, you're going to have closer to 0.1 or 0.2 grams of retention, which is acceptable. The reason that does not show up in some testing is because if you are doing 18 grams and then you get 17.5 out, that 0.5 grams is kind of stuck in there coating the burrs. The next one you grind through, that will come through and you're going to get closer to 18 grams in there. So you have to take into account how much of the retention is actually coating the burrs or getting stuck inside the unit. So please, if you're going to use this, do use the RDT technique. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of grind stuck up in here. Don't go too crazy with the water, just a little drop will do ya. My next critique of this is the bellows. Now, the bellows, the lid right here has a nice little rubber O-ring on here, which gives you a real tight seal. The bellows here do not have an O-ring on the bottom, so it goes in there and it has a lot of wiggle room. You've seen me knock this thing off like 6 times in this video. Because of that, it does not give you an airtight seal, so the bellows aren't as effective as on other models that I've checked out there, all right? The bellows here kind of are ineffective, and really what I'm finding is that I'm not finding that the bellows are actually doing much to get the retention out. What is happening is I'm banging on this guy, and that banging is allowing the caught grinds to come out. Now, I can easily fix this by buying another O-ring and putting it on here, as long as I can find the right size. That will create an airtight seal. But I think that going forward, our friends over there at Wirsh or Geimori, they really should add a little O-ring to the bottom of this guy, creating a better seal, therefore allowing the bellows to work properly. My next critique of this is, though it does have an anti-popcorning device on here, a little hat to keep your beans from flying out while you're grinding, I have found that once I start actually pumping on this guy right here, there is always 1 or 2 beans that are still stuck in there that will not go anywhere until you start pumping it. And like I said, I don't believe that this is actually causing anything to happen. I don't believe pumping this guy is actually pushing too much air through here. What's happening is I'm causing this guy to rock a bit, a bean moves around in there, and goes through the grinder, and that is what's happening to me. Okay, stepless grinders. This is universal thing that happens with most inexpensive stepless grinders. It unspools a little bit as you grind. Now, that's no problem as long as you keep your eye on it. For this guy in particular, it will unspool from 15 all the way to 14 if you're grinding while pumping on it, all right? It will, and I'll show you right now, a little video clip of what's happening. But if you want to just keep your hand on the adjustment dial while you're grinding, that won't happen to you. That is kind of a very common problem with stepless grinders, especially in the lower price range. I mean, that's because it's just a threaded fitting on here. There's nothing to stop it from moving. And if it was hard to move it, then it would be kind of a pain. That would be another negative. So don't don't put too much stock in that. Just know that if you don't keep your eye on it, if you don't keep your hands on it while you're pumping and grinding, you might find that this guy right here is going to start drifting on you, right? Okay, so we've mentioned that the static is so-so unless you use the RDT technique. We've mentioned that a bean or 2 does get stuck in there until you start shaking it around. We've mentioned the bellows are kind of lackluster and needs a better seal. We've mentioned that the retention is so-so. There is definitely retention. Those are the negatives. The positives, extremely compact. The burrs themselves seem to work wonderfully. I'm getting great flavor out of my espresso. I do prefer the burrs on this compared to the, for example, stock burrs that are on my Maxime's Lacine X. They have 38 millimeter burrs on that guy as well. I like the flavor better for the espressos from this guy right here. I like this grinder. It is good looking, it is small, it is compact, it does a good job, but every grinder has a few negatives, and that's why I thought it was important to mention those as well. If you are not doing a lot of traveling, then this would not be my favorite grinder. There are a few others that I would recommend. Maybe something like the Hybrew G5 or one of the Me Coffee models there, the DF54. If you are looking into any of these grinders, they all have the same burrs, more or less. This one is the one that is compact for travel and has a travel adapter plug. The other model, that is the regular T38, is rechargeable. And then the original one is one that has a bit of an angle to reduce retention. That is a more standard home grinder where a lot of the actual voltage conversion happens within the unit, so it's a little bit bigger. Would I make this my daily driver? No, I wouldn't. But would I make this my travel grinder? Heck yes. In fact, I've brought it on a trip already, and it was really, really nice to have with me. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that helped you find the right information you need on this grinder. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.